Hey everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me. We're doing a Maritime Mysteries reading, and we're asking the question, what caused Natalie Wood to go into the water on that fateful night? Natalie Wood, a legendary actress, lost her life on November 28, 1981, at the age of 43. Her death has always been shrouded in mystery. Heavy speculation surrounding whether or not her husband Robert Wagner had anything to do with her drowning has plagued him until this day. In 2022, he was cleared of involvement by police, but her case is still open. On the night of her drowning, Natalie and Robert got into a heated argument after an evening of drinking at a Catalina Island restaurant. There were accusations of her flirting with fellow co-star and actor Christopher Walken, and it was said that Robert was angry about it. She was found a mile away from Robert's yacht, the Splendor, the next morning. The toxicology report revealed Natalie's blood alcohol content level was at 0.14% at the time of her passing. There were multiple bruises and abrasions found on her body that no one can really explain. What led to Natalie's drowning on that rainy night? All right, so let's delve into how did Natalie get in the water, and Spirit, whatever you wish to reveal to us about the moments leading up to her passing. Please let us know. Thank you, Spirit. Alright, I'm going to zoom in so you all can see these up close and personal here. Let me move these up just a smidge, and I'll show them, I'll point them out to you in just a moment. I just want to kind of position them a little bit. Alright, so the cards that we've got is Tree, Hat, Lighthouse, okay, Orbiculum. I have already some thoughts about the Orbiculum card. In my research, I found out something that I think that's tied to. We have Iceberg, Moth, Owl, and Poppet. All right. Okay, so let's get right on to it with this little reading here that we're doing. This card, the strong growth, is what I'm thinking that right off the bat with the Tree card. This is speaking to seasons of life, reaching new heights. There's no doubt about it. Natalie Wood was a powerhouse actress. I mean, I'm a fan. I loved her in Rebel Without a Cause when she was a teenager, and then I also really adored her. Like one of my favorite movies is A Splendor in the Grass, and I would watch that movie over and over again. And just to see I was a baby, like 1 year old when she died, but my mother loved her so much that we were always watching the movies in our home. So, yeah, I think that she was on a meteoric rise, and she was like what you would think of as far as like a star. Like, so I don't know. It's interesting to me because the night of when all this transpired, she and her husband, Robert, had asked or invited folks onto their yacht to come out for a weekend on the yacht. And a lot of people declined it because it was storming that weekend and it wasn't a good time to go out I'm on, take the yacht out. It just wasn't a good time. But her co-star, Mr. Watkins, he actually went ahead and came along, and apparently there have been some building up flirtation, something growing to new heights. The flirtation. And I'm saying that because right across from the tree card, we have the moth card. This is about being hopelessly attracted to something or a clingy person. And so can you imagine that there's this on-screen and off-screen chemistry happening between her and Mr. Watkins, and her husband bearing witness to that or hearing about that. And Robert himself was very handsome, a very handsome actor, in his own right. But this is something growing and reaching new heights, okay? So it had probably reached a point of no return, according to what I'm able to pick up on here. And the tree card also speaks to family roots, family ties, right? And so I think that's interesting that comes about. There's suspicion, like maybe Robert did something to her husband. Then, some people might say, oh, well, maybe it wasn't Robert, it was somebody else on the boat. Could have been Mr. Watkins, could have been Captain Davern who had something to do with it, the captain of the yacht. Could have been a total stranger who came on the boat and knocked her off. Could have been, I'm saying no, because of this tree card kicking this reading right off. This is not all to say that, Robert had anything to do with her demise, but it's just interesting to me that the very first card that comes up is the tree card. The moth card is kitty corner to the tree card. And the moth card is speaking about transformation, being hopelessly attracted to something like a moth to a flame or a clingy person. And it also can represent transformation, crossing over. And so it's interesting to me, this little quad here, okay, what ultimately led to her transition. Let's go this way now, though. Let's go to the hat card. Hat card is about self-image or identity. And what's interesting to me is a key phrase for this card, according to the guidebook for this deck. A career choice or role one plays in life, a sign of respect. So family should be respected. Roles, we got 3 major actors on this boat. And that's interesting to me that this card comes up. Hat, self-image or identity. Maybe someone's self-image and identity may have been threatened. Maybe it was very important for, a persona to be held up, for an image to not be tainted by something. So there's that. And this is being illuminated upon with the lighthouse card, okay? Lighthouse is about illuminating something that was in the dark, and now you have light upon it. Light upon what? Well, the roles that someone is playing. What are they doing? Is this just all for the movie, or is there really something more going on? What is going on here? Something being illuminated. Something needing to be illuminated as well. What is interesting to me about her case is that there's this something's going on with the timeline of when she went missing or when she may have fallen in the water versus when the authorities or the Coast Guard was notified. It was like something like 4 hours later. So when the other reading I did for Maritime Mysteries, I've already recorded, this card came up. And it was a similar situation with that case out of the Caribbean. And so it's funny to me that, and I shuffled this deck over and over again in preparation for this reading. So it's interesting to me that the lighthouse card comes up in this reading, and it came up in that past reading I did for Sarm Heslop. So that's interesting to me. Something needing to be illuminated, needing to be shined upon, but maybe that didn't happen. That's interesting. So now we have the Orbiculum card. And let me tell you something about the Orbiculum card. There's a couple of things here that kind of gives me goosebumps. So the first thing is, I'm 43 years old. And so that struck me as like, that's interesting. Natalie Wood was 43 at the time that she passed away. And we've got the number 43. I was doing research about her in preparation for this reading. And I came across a story where her mom had gone to a fortune teller. And the fortune teller said, your second daughter, your second baby girl, is going to grow up to be a great beauty. However, she needs to be wary of dark waters. Dark blue waters, I believe, is what the fortune teller said. And so from then on, Natalie herself has always been afraid of water. She could not swim. I similarly love to be by water, but really can't swim properly, and I have a fear. I nearly drowned when I was young, and it shaped how I am around water today. And so Natalie grew up she was born in San Francisco. I don't know if she was raised there, but she was born there. I was born in the San Francisco Bay Area. So there's just these little coincidences that's just interesting to me. And I don't know. But this card, the meaning of it is about prophetic glimpses into the future, searching for and receiving answers and sudden insights. And people have been mystified by this case for a long time. And another interesting tidbit of information about Natalie's case is that Robert Wagner sold the yacht, the Splendor, to a guy who I guess is based out of Hawaii. And the guy says that Natalie haunts the boat. And that it's so much of a bother and so much of an issue that he had to I think he sold the boat himself, or he's trying to sell it at the last time I read in 2014. So she very much may be wanting for us to have prophetic glimpses and insights into what happened, to really understand the truth of the matter of what happened. That's why I'm sharing all that with you. All right, so iceberg, obstacles, hidden emotions, self-exploration needed, and problems may be bigger than you think. And sometimes when I see this card, a couple of things come up. Problems may be bigger than you think and run deeper than you think. This also, when this card comes up, it can indicate an unfortunate misadventure or unfortunate event. It can. Not all the time, but it can. It also could be like something's made to appear to be a misfortune or a misadventure or an accident that led to a transition here. So it could be the appearance of it, and it's something running deep. A bigger problem than what was led on to the authorities. Okay. Then we have Owl, the Owl card, which is interesting. So the Owl card, for me, when this card comes up, typically it comes up when there may have been a witness who's seen something or heard something nearby. And it also can represent intuition, keen observation, and it also, one of the key phrases to this card, according to the guidebook, is deep mystery. This is a deep mystery as to why there wasn't a phone call made. Now, my intuitive hit is that Robert was very much concerned about having, the public eye, the news outlets, coming about if it turned out that she was just on the dinghy and went back to shore. That doesn't, but what is interesting to me also, that doesn't make sense if you have a fear of water. And so here's where it gets a little wonky for me. And y'all let me know what you think. So there is a story that emerges that everybody had been drinking a lot that night. And she's in her nightgown, in her flannel pajamas nightgown and thick socks. And she hears the dinghy hitting against the boat. And so she goes out to try to move the boat and may have fallen in. But the dinghy and her are nowhere to be found when people start to look for her. Okay, that's interesting to me. This is I think this is the story that Robert came up with. Mind you, she can't swim, so I find that hard to believe. I also find it interesting that she would hang out on the yacht like all the time, every weekend. But then again, I'm not really fond of swimming or getting in the water, but I love being by the beach, so there's that. Now, later on, as many years went by, decades even, witnesses came forward and was saying, we heard someone scream, "Help, I'm drowning," at about 11 p.m. that night. So there is witnesses. And then in 2011, the captain came forward and said that there had been an argument ensuing between Robert and Natalie on the, in the mast of the boat, out on, on the boat, on the, what do you call it? I don't know, why am I drawing a blank? But they're outdoors. They're outside on the boat. And they're arguing. Then all of a sudden, it's silent, he says. And they have been arguing to the point where I think he said that Robert may have thrown something. He was so mad about what he perceived as a heavy flirtation going on between Natalie and Christopher Walken. Okay? Now, then we have... So all this to say with this card is that there's witnesses who have come about throughout the years saying what they've said. And it's just, this is why the pieces don't all fit. Why would she, if she's so deathly ill, be going out trying to adjust the dinghy and then fall in the water? It just doesn't make any sense. But there you have it. Then we have Poppet. The Poppet card is about some form of manipulation, okay? It is about someone trying to manipulate things and trying to divert attention, brainwashing the folks, having control over someone. Who's controlling over who? And it may not even just be controlling over who. It can be controlling over something. A puppet is like an item, a thing. Somebody trying to have a control over it. And so thus, we now fast forward to when the authorities decided to reinvestigate Natalie's case and change her cause of death to, she did drown. A contributing factor was hypothermia, but that she had bruises all over her body, and they changed it to undetermined, like how she got in the water. And Robert refused to entertain any questions. He refused to answer any questions, which is his right. Okay, that's his right. However, he also refused, I believe, to have her body exhumed. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. Maybe he just wants to move forward and move on. But it does beg the question, why would you not talk to the authorities about it if it's purely an accident, a misadventure, a misstep? And is that something, and I guess there are some people who said that, yeah, there would be times she would get on the dinghy on her own from time to time to go from the yacht to shore, but I don't know. I'm having a hard time buying that. All right, I'm going to pause here for now and just kind of take a moment, take a picture, and we're going to move on to the next part. I'll be back.